Okay, welcome to this reading lesson where we'll be looking at the final reading in part 1 of book number 16, test number 1. If you have managed your time well in the previous 2 readings, so you would spend about maybe 18 minutes on the first one, 20 minutes on the second one, then you would have about 22 minutes to do this. But because this is a listening lesson, obviously we're going to take a lot longer because we're going to be discussing the techniques I'm using when I'm reading. We'll be discussing any new vocabulary that comes up, both in the text itself and in the questions. Obviously, I'm not going to be looking at information in the text that doesn't help us to answer the questions. So if you do see a word that stands out and you would like to find out what it means, then of course, go ahead, pause the video and use my favorite dictionary, which is Longman Online, LDOCE online.com. There's a fantastic learner dictionary, and I would strongly recommend you use that one. Okay, so we're going to go just through the techniques that I personally find the most beneficial for reading. It can be a little bit slower, perhaps, than you're used to, but you're more thorough, and I'm going to add that word up here. You tend to be more thorough, and therefore you get more correct answers. And that's the reason I do it in this particular way. Okay, so this is what you would see when you get to reading passage 3 on the right-hand side of your screen. And here it's very seldom in part 3 of the reading, or the third reading, it's very seldom for you to see any images. In fact, there have been cases when there's no title at all, and so you are forced to try and work out the general gist of the text by reading quite quickly through it. I always recommend, if there is a title, especially if there's an image, you go and try to activate your schemata. That means activate your world knowledge about this. So let's just have a quick look at the title of this one. It's called The Future of Work. Okay, and I can try to take a very quick guess. I'm not going to spend more than 10 seconds on this, but what are they talking about? Jobs, security, the future of jobs. So I did just quickly see, as I was underlining that, I saw something about AI, artificial intelligence. I'm sure that's going to be something they're going to be talking about, how robotics will be taking over people's jobs in the future, etc., etc. I'm pretty sure that's going to be spoken about. So now that I've got a general idea, I want to check if I'm right. And the best way to check is to only look at the first paragraph. We've done this a number of times now, so this should be easy for you. The first paragraph gives an overview of a well-written text. So always look at the first paragraph. Also, don't forget to underline any numbers, any capitalized words, any words in inverted commas as well, because those tend to have answers in them. So let's have a look at this first paragraph. So according to a leading business consultancy, 3 to 14% of the global workforce will need to switch to a different occupation within the next 10 to 15 years. All workers will need to adapt as their occupations evolve alongside increasingly capable machines. So there we go, robots, as I was speaking about. Automation, again, that means robotics, and embodied artificial intelligence. There's in inverted commas, so it's worth underlining that. AI is one aspect of the disruptive effects of technology on the labor market. Disembodied AI, like the algorithms running in our smartphones, is another. So there's one. I think it's worth checking this. Oh, sorry, embodied. Okay, so there's one here and there's a second one here. So we've got the embodied artificial intelligence, which is one, and the second is this disembodied, like the algorithms running our smartphones. Okay, so what they're saying here basically is that there's artificial intelligence that's going to be, well, I'm not sure actually, because I'm not an expert at all, but I'm imagining it's something to do with robotics, so inside the robot. and it's going to actually have a body. This artificial intelligence is going to have a body. It's going to be able to move its limbs. So the general word for arms and legs are limbs. The B is silent. So it's going to be able to, I'll add that up there, limbs. So it'll be able to have some limbs or some wheels, or be able to move around. I think that's what they mean here. Okay, we've got a general idea of what they're talking about. We were right in the first 10 seconds, trying to imagine what they're talking about here. Now it's worth looking at the first part of the questions, and that's numbers 27 to 30. Let me just double check. Okay. And each statement. So we've got statements for the last one here. Who said these? So there's 3 people we need to look out for: Stella, Hamish, and Ewan. This is probably going to be like part 2 if you watched that video. This is probably going to be taken from one of the longer paragraphs within this text, and we'll have to reformulate the information, but we're going to be focusing on this. Now, this one here, I find personally that it's always best not to look at the distractors. This is different in the listening. In the listening, there's only 3 options, and you would look at the distractors. But the problem is you need to remember there's 2 of them are trying to trick you. And the reason I think it's better not to look at the distractors in the reading is because, number 1, you've got more time. Number 2, there's 4. So that means there's 3 things trying to trick you, and they're trying to take your mind away from the truth. So what I would recommend this type of task is to only focus on the prompt, which is the first part, and then come up with your own words from what you found in the text. And then once you've got your own words, then you can find the answer between A, B, C, or D. Okay, so let's see if we can do this now. So the first paragraph tells us about, it tells us about two types of AI that are going to affect us in the future. Okay, are we happy with that? Let's come back to 27 because it's worth going on now. According to the second paragraph, so this is easy now. They're looking specifically at where you can find the answers, which is very good. What is Stella Pacidi's view of the knowledge economy? So we're looking for the word knowledge economy now. Okay, we're not going to go start reading yet. We're just going to carry on until we get to number 30 first. Okay, what did Pacidi observe in the telecommunications company? Okay, so what did she see in the, if you say the, that means there's only one. So it's going to be very clear. We find the telecommunications company and we found out what she saw. And 30, in his recently published research. Okay, now this one is a bit open. There's a lot. So recently published. So this one will have to work a little bit harder. Okay, but I'm trying not to look at the distractors because I know they're trying to trick me. So let's now read until we get to something about the research by Ewan McGaughey. Okay, so we're going to go over here and read until we get to him. Okay, so we've got Stella Pacini from Cambridge Judge Business School. Okay, and remember, we read the first sentence and sometimes the second sentence as well. Believes that some of the most fundamental changes are happening as the result of algorithmication of jobs that are dependent on data rather than production, the so-called knowledge economy. Although this isn't, this doesn't have these inverted commas, anything after so-called is sort of functioning like this. Okay, so the changes are happening because of the algorithmication of jobs. That's a bit like Uber, right? Uber, if you have heard of it, this is a taxi company where there are private drivers driving their cars around, and Uber uses an algorithm to match the perfect driver to the perfect passenger. And that's entirely driven by algorithms. There's no human going, okay, this is for you, this is for you. No one's answering the phone call. It's entirely done by mathematics and computers. So that's one good example of this algorithmication of jobs. Okay, we don't need to carry on because we might be able to get from this question number 2. Let's carry on to this sentence here. And you can see here this is only a short sentence, so we'll have to read the whole paragraph. In many cases, they can outperform humans, says Pachidi. Organizations are attracted to using algorithms because they want to make choices based on what they consider is perfect information, as well as to reduce costs and enhance productivity. So obviously a computer doesn't get tired, doesn't ask for holidays. An algorithm will run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Okay. But these enhancements are not without consequences, says Pachidi. If routine cognitive tasks are taken over by AI, how do professions develop their future experts? So if it's always done by a computer, you sometimes, if you're just starting out in your job, you sometimes need the routine to just get used to it, and then it becomes easy for you. But if a computer's doing it all for you, you don't develop that skill by the time you're more experienced. So future experts. One way of learning about a job is legitimate peripheral participation. A novice stands next to experts and learns by observation. Okay. If this isn't happening, you need to find new ways to learn. Okay. Haven't seen anything about knowledge economy, so we're sort of wasting time a bit here. And I've ended up reading 3 sentences here, so okay. Another issue is the extent to which the information influences or even controls the workforce. Controls the workforce. For over 2 years, Pachidi monitored a telecommunications company. Good. Okay, here we are. All right, so we're going to be finding the answer here. So let's just put 29, as we know it's sitting there. Okay, and let's carry on, see if we can find this Ewan McGaughey. The algorithm, usually built by external designers, often becomes the keeper of knowledge. In cases like this, Pachidi believes a short-sighted view begins to creep into working practices, whereby workers learn through the algorithm's eyes, and they become dependent. Okay, I don't need to read anymore. No mention of Ewan yet. Okay. They observe people developing strategies to make the algorithm work to their own advantage. Okay, nothing more there. There we've got Mr. Ewan. Just carry on those still. It's scenarios like these that many researchers are working to avoid. Their objective is to make AI technologies more trustworthy and transparent, so that they understand how the decisions are made. That's very important. Okay, there's Puccini again. Okay, we've got this economist, Mr. Hamish Lowe, believes that the future of work will involve major transitions across the whole life course for everyone. Major transitions across the whole life course. So not just young, but even when you get much older. Okay, he's there as well. Is there anything else I need to underline? No. Okay. On the subject of job losses, Lowe believes the predictions are founded on a fallacy. It assumes that the number of jobs is fixed. Okay, so let's just underline all these numbers. We'll come back to that. So it's a fallacy. Okay, it might be useful later on. And now finally we get to recently published research. Mr. Ewan McGaughey at Cambridge Centre for Business Research and King's College London agrees that apocalyptic views about the future of work are misguided. Okay, there's no mention there. Okay, here we go. His recently published research answers the question of whether automation, AI, and robotics, so there's 3 things there, will mean a jobless future. So he answers the question by looking at the causes of unemployment. History is clear that change can mean redundancies. Okay, that means, sorry, you're no longer needed in this job, because if there's one of you, then I don't need a second person. Or even worse, if there's one of you, the robot or the AI or the algorithm is not doing anything, and it's much more efficient than you, and it doesn't need holidays, and it doesn't need to have breaks. So you become redundant. And actually, it's worth putting that word up there, redundant. Okay. But social policies can tackle this through retraining and redeployment. So you can, if you've been working on a particular type of job all your life, but your job is taken over by AI, it's possible to retrain to become something different and do a different job. So it answers the question. Let's just quickly look here. We'll come back to these ones here. Highlights, shows, challenges. I'm just looking at the verbs, and I'm feeling that there must be more here. So I don't want to stop until we've completely understood. He adds, okay. So if he's adding, there's more related to this research. If there's going to be a change to jobs as a result of AI and robotics, then I'd like to see government seizing the opportunity to improve policy to enforce good job security. Okay, so governments improve policy, good job security. We can reprogram the law to prepare for a fairer future of work and leisure. Magani's findings are call to arms. Okay, that means everybody should fight by leaders of organizations, governments, and banks to anticipate the coming changes with bold new policies that guarantee full employment, fair incomes, and economic democracy. Okay. All right, let's go back here. Let's see. He challenges the idea that redundancy is a negative thing. Okay. Okay, we've got the word but here. So he says, history is clear that change can mean redundancies, which are usually a bad thing. But social policies can tackle this through retraining and development. Possible one here. Shows the profound effect of mass unemployment on society. I don't see that anywhere here, so not this one. Highlights some differences between past and future job losses. Oh gosh, okay. Let's just see if there's one more on this last page. The promises of these new technologies are astounding. They deliver humankind the capacity to live in a way that nobody could have once imagined, he adds. So another ad, so it's worth reading this. Just as the Industrial Revolution brought people past subsistence, agriculture, and the corporate revolution enabled mass production, a third revolution has been pronounced. But it will not only be one of technology. The next revolution will be social, the way people act. It's not just about technology, it's the way people act. Highlight some difference between past and future job losses. No, didn't mention that. Illustrates how changes in the job market can be successfully handled. He illustrates. He gives an example. How the changes in the job market can be successfully handled. So we can tackle this. We can tackle it through retraining and development. So this is definitely the key word here with but. He challenges the idea that redundancy is a negative thing. Does he say it's not that negative? The word tackle still suggests it's a negative thing. If you tackle something, you have to fight it. So there's no mention here that he's saying, oh, it's actually quite good. Especially because of the word tackle. And he's actually used that. That's coming from his mouth. You can see it there. So history is clear that redundancy is that's not a good thing. We've got to tackle this. So I think it can be successfully handled. I'm going to go with D. I think A is not saying it's negative, or it's not saying it's positive, at least, because challenges the idea that it's negative means he says it's positive. He doesn't say it's positive. Okay, so went in a strange order, but now we know we have to read the whole thing to find the answers. So we're going to go back to number 29 here. We'll go backwards. So what did she observe here? So she monitored, she looked at, she watched. The way telecoms salespeople work is through personal and frequent contact with clients. Personal and frequent contact with clients, using the benefit of experience to assess a situation and reach a decision. So they can assess and they can make a decision. However, the company had started using an algorithm that defined when account managers should contact certain customers about which kinds of campaigns and what to offer. Okay, so these people are very experienced. They know that some clients need to be contacted more regularly. Some people don't need to be contacted that regularly. In fact, they don't like being contacted that regularly. And yet here's this algorithm saying, you need to contact this person today by the end of the day. And I can see the problem with that, because an experienced person will know personally how the people that they know in their circle, their business circle, how they react to certain things. So the algorithm usually is built by external designers, often becomes the keeper of knowledge. So here we go. The last, this is important. Alternative explorations where experimentation and human instinct lead to progress and new ideas are discouraged. Okay, I think I'm clear what she's saying there. So staff disagreeing with the recommendations, that's not. They're actually following it. Staff feeling resentful about the intrusion. There's no feeling resentful. Let's put that word up there. There's no mention of being resentful of it. Staff making sure that AI produces the results they want. Now that rings a bell. Okay, rings a bell. Makes me remember something. And that was something about here where, yeah, there it is. They observe people developing strategies to make the algorithm work to their own advantage. I'm pretty sure it's that one there. Let's just check the last one. Staff allowing AI to carry out tasks they ought to do themselves. That's coming up in the next paragraph, where young people who are just starting their jobs should be doing the more boring stuff to just know the ropes. And another phrase, to know the ropes, before they become more expert at it. And the algorithm is doing all the boring work, and they're not learning properly. But that's from the next paragraph, or the next, is it the next? Yeah, the next, yeah. Researcher Ewan. So I'm going to go with C. Okay, now let's go up, back right to the top, because we know where we have to look for these ones. So paragraph number 1, 2 types. The kinds of jobs that will be most affected by the growth. No. The extent to which AI will alter the nature of the people that the nature of the work that people do. No. The proportion of the world's labor force who will have jobs in the AI in the future. They will need to switch to a different occupation. No. The difference between what embodied and disembodied AI, the difference between ways that embodied and disembodied AI will impact on workers. The difference between how they will impact the workers. It's not that. Okay, so I've missed one. Right, let's have a look again. The kinds of jobs. All workers will need to adapt as their occupations in, okay, kinds of jobs, not at all. There's no mention of the different types of jobs. So I'm going to cancel that one. The extent to which AI will alter the nature of the work that people do. Extent. Extent. How much? The extent to which. Okay. How much they will have to. How much they will have to alter the work, nature of the work. Proportion of the world's labor force who will have jobs in the future. Jobs in AI in the future. No, that's 3 to 14% will need to switch. Definitely not that one. So this is a tricky one. It's not very nice coming at the beginning of your 4. So number 27, you're already like, okay, what is it? And I'm getting frustrated with myself. And then I go to 28 and I'm not really focusing because I'm still thinking about what happened with 27. And this is, you may be wondering, why did I go to 30 and 29? Sometimes it's better to just go with the flow, what you think's better, and get your marks ticked off. Also, because I honestly thought this would be easy because it says in paragraph 1. Just have to look at that. It's a very tricky one. The extent to which AI will alter the nature. Well, they're saying how much. They're saying all workers will need to adapt. So I'm going to go with B. I don't think it's a D. Okay, and we only have to look at paragraph 2 for this one. Probably a more tricky one than I thought it would be. According to the second paragraph, what's her view of the knowledge economy? So we're going to try and find her view. Believes that the most fundamental changes are happening as a result of the so-called knowledge economy. Okay, there's no colon, but you assume it's talking about this. Her view. Wait, let's read it again. She believes, that's her view, that some of the most fundamental changes are happening as a result of this thing that are dependent on data rather than production. So fundamental changes are happening. Okay, anything else here? Algorithms are capable of learning from data or data to undertake tasks that previously needed human judgment, such as reading legal contracts, analyzing medical scans, and gathering market intelligence. That's her view, though. So it's nothing down there. Fundamental changes. It's having an influence on the number of jobs available. No, we need to find something related to change. Changing their attitudes. There's the word change, but it's not their attitudes, I don't think. It is the main reason why the production sector is declining. No, no mention. It's a key factor driving current developments in the workplace. Current developments, current changes, key factor, fundamental. Okay, that was relatively easy if I just got to D earlier. So key factor, fundamental, driving current developments, making the changes that are happening. Okay, finally we got through that first bit. Okay, now we need to find the paragraph that's going to be relevant here. Okay, at least thankfully they've given us where we should be looking, so it's probably going to be in this area and somewhere at least on the first page, because we're talking about this Stella lady. Has been focusing on the algorithmication of jobs which rely not on production, but we know this, they rely on data rather than production. Okay. Oh, sorry. Tricky one. Write the correct letter A to G in your answer sheet. Okay, so this is more tricky than just putting the word that you think. So I want to put data, but another word for data is information. So the answer here is G. Okay. While monitoring a telecommunications company, Pachidi observed a growing, I think it's the word dependence. They depend on. Yeah, there's the word depend. They are dependent on it. And if we know the word dependence is also a synonym for reliance, we know that this is E. Okay. As workers begin to learn through the algorithm's eyes, here we go. So that would help you to find that. Meanwhile, staff are deterred, so discouraged, deterred from experimenting and using their own, their own ideas, human instinct. So we've got experimentation and human instinct, and therefore prevented from achieving innovation, prevent new ideas and progress. So we're looking for human instinct. And again, you need to know synonym. Instinct is intuition. So we have C there. And here, to avoid the kind of situations which Pachidi observed, researchers are trying to make AI's decision-making process easier to comprehend, to understand, and to increase users something with regard to the technology. Okay, so people need to learn, or people need to know how the decisions are made. Keyword there. Decision-making process easier to understand. And to increase users, okay, we need to make sure we fully understand the dilemmas that this new world raises regarding expertise, occupational boundaries, and control. Objective is to make AI technologies more trustworthy and transparent. So they understand. So trustworthy and transparent is the key one here. And I think that's the word confidence. Yeah, F. Okay, a little bit tricky. This is where my IELTS step-by-step mastering vocabulary course comes in very handy, because this type of question is a classic example of where if you don't know your vocabulary, your synonyms, you are going to really battle. And as you can see here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 marks lost if you don't know your synonyms. Okay, now we're going to quickly go to who said these things. Okay, greater levels of automation will not result in lower employment. Okay, now the other thing about these previous two is that the previous two tasks are in order. Unfortunately, this one, you're going to be jumping around all over the place, and which is why part 3 of the reading test is pretty difficult, especially the final 6 or 7 questions. How many we got here? 6 questions. Okay. So I do remember this generally, and it was earlier on, and it was something about let me remember, it was something about redundancies. That's the word I'm looking for. Where did we find redundancies? It was over here. Let's just, where did I see the word redundancies? Okay, let's try and find it here. Okay. Okay, here we go. So this is Ewan McGaughey. There's the word redundancies, and he's saying that history is clear that change can mean redundancies, but that doesn't necessarily mean that overall unemployment will go down. So we are talking about Mr. McGaughey here. So 35C. There are several reasons why AI is appealing to businesses. Yes, I remember there were three up here. Oops, let's leave that there. There were three up here, and one of them is a reduced something about. Obviously, if I was running out of time, I would start going quickly through here because I generally know it's up here, which is all about Miss Pachidi or Mrs. Pachidi talking. So I would risk it if I was running out of time and just go, okay, A, because I know that she was talking somewhere about how businesses, well, maybe I'm wrong here. Let's just double check. There's something about saving money at the end of a paragraph. Reduce costs. There it is. Okay, and that's still Mrs. Stella. So I was right. AI's potential to transform people's lives has parallels with major cultural shifts which occurred in previous eras. Yes. So somewhere down here, there was something about here down here. Industrial revolution, mass production, subsistence agriculture, all of that is he adds his, so it's UN again, and that's C then. It is important to be aware of the range of problems that AI causes. Range of problems. Okay, I'm going to come back to that one because it's such a wide one. We get the marks on the board first. People are going to follow a less conventional career path than in the past. Less conventional. Okay. Let's have a look at this Hamish quickly because he's only got two paragraphs. So let's just read him very carefully here. So Mr. Lowe believes that the future of work will involve major transitions across the whole life course. The traditional trajectory of full-time education, followed by full-time work, followed by a pensioned retirement, is a thing of the past, says Lowe. Instead, he envisions a multi-stage employment life, one where retraining happens across the life course and where multiple jobs and no job happen by choice at different stages. So it's much more complicated than just a standard go to college, go to work, retire at the age of 65. So that's definitely 39 here, which is Mr. Lowell. And let's just read here. On the subject of job losses, he believes the predictions are founded on a fallacy, assumes that the number of jobs is fixed. If in 30 years half of 100 jobs are being carried out by robots, that doesn't mean that we are left with just 50 jobs for humans. The number of jobs will increase. We would expect there to be 150 jobs because you have to fix the robots. Still got range of problems to deal with. Authorities should take measures to ensure that they will be adequately paid for everybody. Yes, down here, I remember that. Prepare for future work, policy. The word policy often comes with government or company, but company policy and government. So I know it's sitting in here. I don't have time to waste too much on this. I know that's Mr. Ewan McGaughey, so that's C. So we just need to do this number 38. It's important to be aware of the range of problems. Range of problems. I mean, Stella talks a lot about these problems here. Miss Pachidi. Um, Okay, also talking about how the decisions are made. I think that's again her. Pretty sure of it. Okay, stick around. We're going to try and find the official answers and just check what they are. Okay, let's have a look. We'll go back to the top up here. Yep. Okay, let's check. So, 27 is B after all. That was actually the most tricky one for me personally. 28 is D, 29 is C, and 30 is D. Good. 31 is G, 31 is G, 32 is E, 33 is C, 34 is F. Okay, good. And so the last 6. 35 is B, so I made a mistake there. 36 is A, 37 is C, 38 is A, 39 is B, and 40 is C. So let's have a look at what the problem is here. Greater levels of automation will not result in lower employment, will not result. 35 B. B is supposed to be Mr. Low. Let's have a look. Oh, of course, this whole paragraph here. Okay, it makes sense. But I did see this word redundancies. Okay, yeah. I mean, this does sort of brush on it, but definitely it's definitely very much clearer from coming from Mr. Lowe about this, so I can see why this one is a little bit vague as to that word vague as to where the answer might be hiding or where the information might be hiding. Okay, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next video.